Hey, welcome to BreitWerks. So what are we doing? This is a 930 turbo engine, and we are going to rebuild this back better than it was. So this is going to be a BTR clone. For those of you that don't know what a BTR clone is, Roof built those many years ago, and they're kind of little badass motors. But the car that this is going in had some roof conversion stuff done when it was brand new, but nothing on the motor. So the owner's ready for a little bit more fun. So we're gonna get on with it. We're gonna start by taking the exhaust off. And yeah, whenever we do something cool, we'll key you in here. So I did the tear down a little bit different order because I just kind of wanted to show all the turbo parts, because getting off the front pan and getting the bracketry off, you know, kind of all this stuff really is supposed to go on in one fell swoop. But here you can kind of see, you know, how the turbo kind of just hangs off the front of the motor. You know, fortunately there's a couple of brackets and things that go in there. But yeah, we're about to pull this turbo off, and then that'll give us a lot more room. But I would gather that maybe number 8 was leaking a little bit. That's a lot of crap. And not sure what's going on here, but we're gonna figure it out as we take it apart. So we'll probably pull the turbo off and then start on some of that top stuff next. But I am wondering how long this was not connected. Right, so this guy is supposed to put pressure through the heat exchangers, and it gets dumped out in the back of the car. So instead, it was just getting dumped out here. Did not realize that was going on. The other thing I found was the boot going to the turbo had some severe rips in it, which leads me to believe that it was pulling in air that was not going through the air meter, which means it was probably running lean. So yeah, all good reasons why you know, we're rebuilding this motor. There are a lot of little foibles here that we will solve, but we got to get it torn apart first. So we're going to keep on going. So since we are trying to keep this one stock with the 86 electronics, there's a couple vacuum lines that we got to make sure we understand where they're going. So this one, easy peasy, right? It's coming off of the back of the throttle body, which I believe is under the throttle plate. And that is going to the front of the Dizzy. Then this other one, I have always plugged these off, but we're gonna try and keep it because it comes underneath and it goes back to a little vacuum switch back here. So not gonna sweat any of that stuff too much till we go to put it back together. But yeah, vacuum lines are usually one of those things that somebody decided what they were gonna do. It may be right, it may not be right. And so we'll certainly double check everything. But it's good to know during teardown where did everything go originally, because we know the car ran when we took it out. All right, we're gonna keep moving. Well, they get naked pretty quick once you pull the CIS off. And on this one, what I wanted to do was see if I could get it off all in one piece, right? And I did. That way we can work on that kind of as a sub project. But yeah, they get small very quickly once you start pulling some of that stuff off. So we're gonna keep on trucking. We'll get probably gonna go with the fancy anodized blocks. Had good luck with them on the last build that we did, so I'm probably gonna do that again. But yeah, these, I don't know, somebody decided they were gonna glue stuff, so we'll get it all right. But it does look like the oil pipe, right? So when you have the oil fitting connected to the top of the turbocharger, where it gets its feed from is normally your oil pressure switch. This is the thing that turns the red light on your on the dash if you don't have enough oil pressure. So this guy, there's actually a couple of parts down in here. There's a little ball bearing that kind of keeps things from draining back. So when you start to take that stuff apart, you got to be pretty careful that you don't lose any of that stuff, because you know that's just all reusable because it's all internal. So it's, you clean it and it's good to go again. But yeah, we're gonna keep going. We'll get these injector blocks off, hopefully get the fan off and the shroud, and that'll be the next time we check in with you. All right, I lied. We didn't get the shroud off yet, but check this out. This is why you never use rags or paper towels or anything around the front of a running engine. It will suck it in and eat it. So yeah, definitely want to always be careful. It doesn't matter what the engine is, but always be careful about not getting something sucked into the fan, because that's a pretty small hole, right? So you get a paper towel on there and now you've got no flow going through that side. It'll be interesting to see what do we find under the elephant snorkel there. All right, there we have it. The workbench and the clean room, not so clean anymore, but we'll get all that cleaned up. It's all part of the job. But here, check this out, right? So we talked about paper towels a little bit earlier. We got more paper towels. And for anybody that does not think that that didn't have an impact on those cylinder head temperatures, I mean, oof. Oh, look, somebody was living in here. So, yeah, we'll get all that cleaned up. No big deal now. But it'll be interesting to see what those heads look like when we pull them off and what kind of piston wear and stuff like that. But it looks like this guy had a little bit of ooze out. Same thing with this guy. But again, we don't know yet because I haven't pulled the valve covers off. We don't know if we got any broken head studs. You know, nothing's broken here. So this far down. So on the top side, looks like we might be okay. It'll be interesting to see about the bottom side, but definitely lifting the heads a little bit. So hopefully our ARP stud upgrade will get rid of any of that. All right, well, that's it for tonight. We're gonna get back on this in the morning, and we'll probably tackle the exhaust tomorrow, and we'll keep you along for the ride. So yeah, wow. Paper towels, gotta love them. All right, we made a little bit more progress. Unfortunately, the little muffler does not want to come off the wastegate. You can see all 4 studs snapped that go into the wastegate. Unreal. And so there's nothing holding it on there anymore, but it will not come off. So we're working on that. We had 2 studs or 2 bolts that decided that they were not going to come out. So we'll fix all that stuff as we go. But yeah, we're making progress. I was really wanting to get the exhaust off, but this has to come off first. So it looks like he'll come off in total, but getting the little muffler off, I mean, that's just supposed to slide off. Plus, I think when we finish this car, we're just going to put one of the little turn down pipes. So this guy has to go anyway. But yeah, sometimes they go easy. Sometimes they like to think about it. All right, we're going to keep on moving and see if we can make some more progress. Well, found the problem. Unfortunately, this is supposed to be a stainless steel gasket that's on here, right? You can kind of see as I peel it back. And unfortunately, everything corroded so badly in here. You know, I had seen this before we started to take it apart, but everything was just rusted together. I mean, you can see this was half a bottle of MAP gas and probably another bottle of Gibbs oil. Just soaking it, working it, soaking it, working it. But you can see, I mean, this thing is just rusted solid into all these parts. So we'll get this guy cleaned up. I think we're going to try and go with either a tile or there's a new wastegate manufacturer that's pretty good. But worst case scenario, we'll get that brazed up. This is not really a critical surface. Plus, we won't be hanging. This is another reason that, you know, these guys are supposed to be supported. right? This, whatever someone, I don't even know, I don't know if you can call that a weld, but whatever somebody put on there, it wasn't supporting that little muffler. So that little muffler, definitely, you know, it's, other than that one busted out area, the rest of it's pretty good. So, oh well, we'll see. The saddest part of this whole thing is I've had this screwdriver for 20 years. I finally broke it. You know, 20, look at that thing. Holy cow, it's got some wear on it. And Craftsman's out of business, so I guess I'm screwed. Oh well. Okay, we are gonna, now we can get on with it. Yeah, out there in YouTube land, it was a nanosecond. And here, holy shit, it's a lot more time than I want to admit. All right, we're gonna keep going. All right, well, we got our exhaust off, which is fabulous. And we didn't break any exhaust studs, so that's great. We'll have them replaced anyway. But let's see if we look in these ports just for an early look. That one looks like it's got a leaky valve guide. But yeah, that's a lot of junk. Amazing how much that exhaust actually hid. So again, we haven't pulled out the, still looking, trying to see if I can see any broken head studs yet, but maybe not, maybe not. But someone had been in here before. Well, first of all, we know they put in these expandable oil tubes. We know they put in the aftermarket exhaust, but these look original. I don't think this case has been split, but it's a 6R case, which I think was the final version, right? 6R, so I think that was the final version. But ooh, wow, number 8 was leaking healthy, which doesn't make sense because the front console cover, the front motor mount, if you will, it was not only dry as a bone, but looked like it had been on fire. So I don't understand why that stuff didn't leak down and keep it in good shape. It's a rusty, crusty mess. All right, we're gonna keep going and see if we can get some valve covers off. I think that'll be our next deal. Might take the oil cooler off just because we'll have less crap leaking everywhere, right? This is the dirtiest part of the whole job. But hey, you gotta get dirty and then everything gets awesome. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So check this out, right? Everything else on the motor was way over torqued. But look at this. Oops. How is that not leaking? Look at the bottom of it, it's clean. Maybe it's clean because it just leaked so much oil, but yeah, why is that not leaking? Oh well. Hey, take the win, right? That's what they say, take the win, because sometimes that can be a real bitch to get off. But yeah, we're gonna take the win. And if there's anything under there crazy, like what the reason it's not leaking, I'll show you guys. But I have a feeling there's not, and this was just luck of the draw. All right, on the 1 through 3 side, we have no broken exhaust studs. I'm sorry, no broken head studs on the exhaust side. So color me surprised, but no, that's good. That's good. And right now I've got them soaking in Gibbs oil so that when we're ready to pull those off, hopefully they'll go a little bit easier. All right, now we are gonna move over to the other side, and I wanna check the cam timing. You know, right now I've got the motor TDC on cylinder 1, right? But I've got no lash here whatsoever. So it's gonna be interesting. And I know we haven't set the lash on this thing. You know, it's been 6 years, but it only gets driven to Sunday morning breakfast. So just not enough miles, but it'll be interesting to see what the timing is set at, what the cam timing is set at, and verify that there's really no lash. That's crazy, but we'll sort it out. All right, we've made it to the point where we can now check what the timing was. So target is 0.7 millimeters for turbo camshafts and 1.1 to 1.4 for SC camshafts. So we're gonna find out pretty quick what cams do we have in this motor. And we're coming up on TDC, almost right about there. So we're at like 0.3, 0.4 on the left-hand side. And then let's see what our total lift is. It should be about 9.6 millimeters because this looks like it's gonna be a turbo camshaft. So as we ease into it, wow, this doesn't want to spin. So it looks like 9.3 is kind of where we peaked, 9.35, 9.36. So we're about 2 millimeters shy of what we would really expect there. But if we come around over here and zero out our dial, let's see, 8.57. Yeah, I think the right side is my gauge is not set up to give us max lift, but that's okay. So we know there's turbo camshafts in this. So these are original cams. So we're gonna go ahead and pop them off. But yeah, 0.4 on the left-hand side. Target is like 0.6, 0.7. But we're gonna go with Group B cams, which are actually gonna have a little less lift, but they'll have more duration. It was a rule thing, right, for Group B. That was the challenge. So when Roof went with those Group B cams for the BTR engines, it was more about the rules than it was about finding an optimized camshaft. I mean, one of the best camshafts for a turbo engine would be an SC cam, but that is not the characteristic we want out of this motor. So we're gonna get on with it. We'll pull some heads off next. All right, we got our left hand or 1 through 3 camshaft out. Everything looks so far okay where we took that out. So what we're gonna do now is pull the right side camshaft out. And I think you've seen me in previous builds, you know, pull off one set of heads, balance things out a little bit. I'm just gonna pull the cam. Plus, that's gonna let me get them sent out ASAP because I'm not sure how long these will take to grind. So even while we're tearing down the rest of the motor, we know what grind we want on this. So we're gonna get the cams out and get them sent off. All right, we're gonna keep on trucking and we'll go from there. All right, we got the cam rack off and we got number 6 head off. And you can kind of see, you know, this guy's been lifting. You can see the fretting on the cylinder surface. But who knows? I mean, this thing had a dial of death in it, so maybe at some point somebody really racked up the boost. You look at the cylinder head, it's not terrible. I mean, it's certainly going to be able to be resurfaced and put back into service. But yeah, a lot of buildup of crap. So we'll see as we continue to take this guy apart. But camshafts look okay. They look like we should be able to have them reground. Not too much problem there. But yeah, we're at the messy part right now. Got to get everything taken apart first, and then we can get past the messy part. All right, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna get down to the cylinders. All right, so just a real quick interlude here. Right, so we got the cam rack off of 1 through 3. And one of the things I wanted to point out is I think it's interesting. This engine, I really don't believe anybody's been into it. But you can see the trace amounts of the 574 that Porsche actually uses. Right, so they don't cover this up here. It looks like, you know, you can see the edge there and then around where the valve is. So what we're trying to take advantage of in the rebuild world, we put it in there because 574 actually has a lot of strength to it. So it helps hold the cam rack onto those cylinders, which the more and more, you know, you don't often get to tear down an engine that has never been touched, especially these things are 30, 40, 50 years old. So this is kind of cool. So I'm really kind of paying attention to, you know, what did they do? And that to me is very interesting, because the shear strength of 574 is something that, you know, Bruce Anderson talked about it in his book back in the 80s. As a matter of fact, mainly it was used on the engine cases, but it also applies up here. So it's just interesting to see how Porsche handled it. You know, clearly we've got something back here was just making a mess, and that's an awfully clean surface. So they used the orange O-rings, you know, all that stuff was the same. But yeah, kind of interesting to see. And since this guy hasn't been taken apart, it looks like the case through bolts, there's always a lot of discussion on which way do they go. It doesn't matter which way they go, but it looks like the case through bolts are coming up, which to me is interesting because I'm pretty sure we've put them the other way too. But yeah, just some neat things as we're tearing this down and kind of seeing what did Porsche originally do. Same thing here, but I'm not gonna bet the farm that that's original. Most of the times we hook up to this guy, which gives you a little bit more room to be able to pull the alternator out. So interesting stuff. I imagine that's certainly not the original, but if it is, kind of cool. But we're gonna get on with it. I'm not seeing anything else that isn't regular fare here. So just thought it was kind of neat to see how these guys were attached to the, or how they were sealed to the cam rack. All right, we're gonna keep going. So a couple of quick observations. The burn on the left side of the motor, 1 through 3, definitely leaner than what was going on the right side of the motor. And the question is, were the paper towels and the walnuts, or whatever those are, contributing to that? Right, so did this side of the engine get hotter? You can see all the crap that's jammed in between those cylinders. So we talk about these cars being air-cooled. They rely on the air to cool them, because if you've got a hot side, you're gonna see that lean burn. And we see the same thing, right? 1, 2, 3. We see the same thing on the heads, as opposed to the other side, 4, 5, and 6, where those don't quite have the same burn pattern. So we're not going to chalk it up to injectors just yet, because I want to see how much junk is actually in there. This side was relatively clean, but you can still see some stuff between 5 and 6. But the other item was, we see some healthy shaft wear, nothing that you can feel. It's more of a discoloration. So these guys ride on there. That's the chain tensioner. So I was looking through it, and you could see I actually used a little brake clean there just to see if that hole was clean and going through and getting good oil. And it looks like it is. So both sides had a little bit of wear, but you know, both sides appeared, there's a little bit more wear on there, but both sides appear to be correct. So once we get everything really cleaned up, we'll be able to look at it and see. But there's a little more discoloration here than normally we would see. And you can feel a little bit of something. But it could just be, you know, the car sat for a very, very long time. So when somebody fired it off, maybe this didn't have quite as much oil as it should have, or the old oil took a little while to get itself off, so there was some fresh oil there. But we'll get everything cleaned up and measured and make sure that it's all within spec. But next step here, we're gonna pull the cylinders off, and yeah, definitely you can see, I mean, that's pretty typical for a turbo, but you can see some fretting. Not necessarily a lot of blow by. I was expecting to see a couple of little stripes, but no real stripes. Again, the car wasn't boosted, you know, hugely, but yeah, so she's coming apart. We're getting closer. and the mess is getting bigger. But we'll take care of that. Nothing goes on the shelf until it's been cleaned, and Sonia's been working her butt off, so we're gonna just keep feeding things to Sonia, let her strip all that grease off. But slowly but surely, we're getting there. All right, we got all the rods out. Here's a new one for me. Engine ran fine. Oil pressure was decent, right? It was leaky, but check this out. The bearing is deformed big time. And this was on number 5. So nobody else had these problems. Get the bolts off here. But the bearing, the rod bearing, I mean, usually when this happens, there's a, see, it won't even stay in the, it won't even stay in the rod. But I mean, you can tell it's got a tremendously horrible wear pattern. But when you try to put it into the rod end, I mean, that thing is deformed big time. So I don't think we'll be reusing these. I mean, I guess we could always just bend them out a little bit, but it'll be interesting to measure them and see what the heck happened there, because I'm not seeing Babbitt, right? It hasn't gone through the Babbitt. It's just really bad. Wow. So yeah, not 100% sure what's going on there, but if I hold it to one side, you can see how badly this thing is deformed. So we will take a look at that pin on the crank, make sure it's okay. But I mean, the motor spins super, you know, the crank spins super smooth. You're not really feeling anything. So we'll keep going, get that crankshaft out of there. Probably gonna take the head studs out first. All right, and there we have it. All the greasy mess was worth the money shot. So far, everything looks decent. Haven't seen anything crazy yet except the one bearing on one of the rods. But there's the big turbo oil pump. And yeah, not seeing anything. If you guys see something, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm gonna close out this video because I got a lot of stuff to clean and organize, right? So yeah, teardowns are a biatch. But the good news is Sonia has been working hard while we're taking it apart, and all our parts are ready for powder coat. So ultrasonic cleaner got those all degreased, and yeah, we're gonna send those out. Turbocharger's gonna go out. And thanks for watching. Check us out at BreitWerks.com, and we'll end with a little shot of this grimy turbo, because the next time you guys see it, it's gonna be big baller. Have a fantastic day. Check us out at BreitWerks.com.